This video covers supplier integration between Ariba SLP and ECC. So the process we're following is shown from left to right. We're going to focus around supplier lifecycle and performance and start by creating a supplier request. Now typically that request will go through an approval process, then sent out to the supplier to invite them onto the Ariba network. They will then update their details, which will end up updating our public profile, and then we'll go through the qualification process to have an approved qualified supplier at the end of that process. At that point, typically we'll send the information down to the ERP solution and get a confirmation back, and it's that integration that we'll focus on for the rest of this video. So the starting point is creating a supplier request, and I'll just provide some of the basic details. So the supplier's name is Green for Good, provide their address information. So this supplier is based in 158 Walker Street in North Sydney, and we'll provide a contact and some basic classification details and a reason for requesting the supplier. So this is for consultancy. I'll submit that request. Okay, so at this point in time it would typically go through some sort of an approval process. I'm not going to go through that. This system is set up to not require approval. So we'll go through to the next step. And for that next step, I'll just show you some configuration that controls the integration. So first of all, we have some connection details for ERP, indicating that ERP will reach out and poll Ariba to pull back any new suppliers or change suppliers. So this is the configuration that controls the credentials that the ERP system will use. And then we have configuration around how that initial synchronization is done. So is that something that's automatic, that the supplier is pushed through from Ariba to ERP, or is it manual? In this case, we're going to use manual synchronization. Next part of the configuration indicates the status the supplier needs to be in before it's able to be pushed through to the ERP solution. So typically this might be registered or qualified, but in our case, because this is just using the data from a supplier request, I'm going to select not invited and save that so that we'll be able to push our new supplier out to the ERP solution. So I'll go back into supplier management and search for my new supplier, Green for Good. Okay, let's get into the details. As you can see there, it's already got a supplier management vendor ID for Ariba. And you can also see that it has not been synchronized yet with ERP. And you'll also see that there's a link, an action button that allows us to synchronize this supplier with the ERP solution. So here's the details from our supplier request. So all the contact details, the address information. And we also have some the contact details as well. That's Fred Green. You also have some default information that's gone into the ERP profile. So some general data, but also company specific data has been defaulted, and purchasing data. So the order currency code, payment terms, Incoterms, and the control indicators are all defaulted from here. Okay, so what we'll do now is synchronize this supplier. So I'll click on the link to synchronize it. And you can see that it's updated its status, indicating that that synchronization has been triggered. So at this point in time, a message will be generated that will be sitting in Ariba, ready for the ERP solution to reach out and retrieve to process into the ECC solution. Now just to show you some visibility of that integration, if I go back into the supplier management administration, and we have a look at the ERP integration status. I'll just run a search for messages created in the last hour, and you can see here we have a record that's outbound. There's our vendor that it relates to, and you can see it's in status ready. So it's sitting there ready for the ERP solution to reach out and retrieve it. And within ECC, this is the job that's actually used to pull that information from Ariba. So if I execute this now, this will reach out to Ariba, pull that request, process it in, and create the corresponding vendor master in ECC. So you can see it's processed one of those supplier records, and it's also done some confirmations as well. So it not only creates a vendor master in ECC, but sends a confirmation back to Ariba so that Ariba understands that the interface was successful and also can be updated with the correct vendor ID. So now, with that being successful, we can search for the new vendor master in ECC. Okay, so there it is. There's the new ID. So it's got all our company name, the address details that we had in the supplier request. We can also have a look at the purchasing data. So you can see it's defaulted, the payment terms and the Encode terms, the order currency as well. And the key thing here, just there's the vendor ID 100673. So that's the vendor ID in ECC. And if we go back into Ariba and have a look at our supplier record in Ariba, so green for good, we should have confirmation information coming back. And you can see already on the right hand side we have a vendor ID. That is the ECC vendor ID that's been returned. And if I jump into that supplier record, you can see that we not only have our supplier management vendor ID unique to Ariba, but we also have the ERP vendor ID. So that completes the demo flow. So we've seen the flow of supplier information from SLP to ECC, and of course the confirmation message coming back.